Thank you. Thank you again for the invitation to participate this afternoon. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everyone. I don't know how much more I could add following the other speakers, but just want to emphasize that what happened on October 7th was not the beginning of something. It was definitely the reaction to something. The ongoing blockade that has been crippling the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip for 17 years, and the ongoing occupation in the occupied West Bank for well over 5 decades. So this was their a reaction to the oppression that the Palestinians have been feeling. And the rhetoric that the Israeli government has the right to defend itself is very misleading for those who don't understand or follow international law. There is nowhere in international law that says an occupying power has the right to defend itself. More so, it's the population that is being occupied would have more of a legal right to defend themselves. This is not to justify the actions that happened on October 7th. Of course, any loss of life is tragic, whether it be civilian or soldiers. But the Palestinians have been facing crippling restrictions on every aspect of their life for decades, and now they are facing even more tragic circumstances in the past several months since October 7th. Organizations such as Amnesty International have reported that the Israeli government will use mathematical formulas to dictate how much aid, as far as food and water, is allowed into the Gaza Strip for survival, not for the civilians to live and thrive, but just for survival purposes. So now, since October 7th, restricting that along with medical aid and turning off the electricity and allowing free availability to the internet to get messaging out. All of this being restricted is much worse since October 7th. So then to cut off what is basically the lifeline for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip in the form of the aid that's coming from UNRWA is just it's inhumane. It is a form of collective punishment, which we also know is against international humanitarian law. We are fighting. The Israeli government is basically using this as a form of a collective punishment. There's no military solution with cutting off aid as far as food and water. There's no military objective for these atrocities. It is just a form of inflicting the maximum amount of pain and suffering to the men, women, and unfortunately, the children of Gaza. So for what we do here in the United States, specifically for Partners for Palestine, we are a nonprofit organization in the state of Florida that promotes education and advocacy. And what we are trying to do is to educate our community members on the history of the region, why what's happening is happening, and the international law. Because we have found that the information that we're getting through the Western media is not only inaccurate, but it is lacking appropriate information. So what our organization does is makes it a point to educate our community. Then they can go out and speak to their elected officials, inform them that this is not how we want to be represented on the world stage. And we know that the United States does have the ability to move the needle on this conflict. The Palestinians are facing a very slow and tragic genocide. The United States is one of several nations that provide more than half of UNRWA's budget. So to stop that to pause that funding is going to be detrimental. What we should be focusing on is stopping the funding of arms going into the region, because we know that we have documented proof that U.S. weapons have been used by the Israeli government in both the Gaza Strip and the occupied West Bank. So what we want to do is to get our citizens in the offices of elected officials and let them know that we do know what is happening. We do have the correct information. Thanks to social media, we're allowed to see what's happening in real time as it unfolds live on a day-to-day basis. And if those elected officials are not willing to do the right thing and support the Palestinian civilians that have been suffering, we will vote for somebody who will.